I was woken up at 4 o'clock this morning because of some really critical breaking news. I'm privileged to have access to scientists from across the world who are looking into every angle of COVID 19. And what they're finding out is truly horrific. It's worse than even I had thought. And I have been in this space for a long period of time. So I'm giving you my first insights because this is just the beginning. What they've uncovered is like 6,000 pages of documents that explain the full pandemic from start to finish. And as a warning, because when I was told this information, I said this kind of information is the kind of thing that people get disappeared about. And the response was they have anticipated that, and that if something happens to any of these scientists, this information will be circulated immediately across the world. It will still be shared, but probably in a little bit more of a controlled way. To see the video about it, you have to go in the description. I'll put up this video and the Substack right afterwards, and you'll be able to take a look at what they're saying. I have to reflect on the implications of this from a clinical point of view. It's one thing about the politics. And as the scientists have said, they're already being contacted by senators who want this information, medical associations who want this information. And it is just down to people who will not stop digging. They find the information, they analyze the information, they break the codes that hide the information, and they find the answers. So, just as an idea as to what they're talking about, you have to see what this is in terms of the sharing. And this was shared by Pure Media Australia, the An Unholy Triad, the Birth of a Plague. And it's breaking down what was going on in the background. This video will be on the Substack as well. And essentially, they are highlighting that this has been in play for a long time. And you can see here it involves some of the big nations in the world. So it's global. And the implications of it are quite serious. What I'm trying to get my head around is the science. And there is something very important in this PDF that they shared that stood out to me. Um, what they highlighted here is they highlighted in this section the modified ORFs, like 10, ORF 10, 11, and 19. This is a very, very important bit of information. And as I said, the video that I can't play here details a little bit more about what they're talking about with these proteins. So it caused me to go back again to the science and to think carefully about what are they referring to with regards to these ORF proteins. And so what they're talking about here is the role of structural and non-structural proteins in the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So this was from a paper from India where this was in 2021, and they were looking at the structure of the virus and to how to target it. Okay. And I'm using this paper to try and give you an insight into what exactly is going on when I talk about ORF proteins. So this is from the same paper. And in this, they have got the genomic arrangement of the virus in terms of the sequential arrangements of various non-structural and structural accessory genes. And it breaks it down here into the whole length of the viral RNA and what each one breaks out. Okay. And that's an important piece of information. And in order for you to see this properly, I just realized that you need to grasp a little bit more, just in case you've never seen any of my previous slides with regards to what the virus looks like and so on. You have to grasp that the virus is broken up into a number of little bits. And what I think I'll do is that I will just pull up one of my recent presentations that will have in it some of the issues with regards to the virus. Well, let me use one of these PDFs here because I'm sure that I have this somewhere. So this here is a virus, a viral particle, human coronavirus structure. And on the left hand side there, you will be able to see that it's like a globe, and on the top are the blue spike proteins, and then the red dots are those are the membrane proteins, and the orange dot is the envelope protein. And if you look on the right hand side, you will see that it's a cut section of the virus, and inside of it you see the nucleocapsid protein, and that holds the RNA together. That's what's translated to make a new virus. So every time the virus infects a cell, it then releases the nucleocapsid with the RNA, which then makes thousands, millions of other new viral particles, which then spreads to other cells. And in order to make that, the RNA inside has all of the pieces required to make this, all of these proteins. And that's the genomic structure. And what it would look like if you stretched out that RNA is that it would look more something like this here. Let me just show you here. This is the RNA genome for the virus, going from point 1 all the way to the end. This is 29,675 towards the end. So it's a very long bit of RNA here. And it codes for these proteins down here. And when you break it out, this is about what they look like. And you can see here, they are mentioning the ORF 1A, 1B proteins. And these will then make non-structural proteins, and they label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all of these help to work to make the virus more effective at replicating. You can see here in the middle is the spike protein. This is the section that makes the spike protein. And then over here, you have the envelope protein. And then you have these ORF proteins, the other ones, 3A, 3D, 6, 7A, 7B, 8, 9B. There's 14. Then you have the nucleocapsid protein as well. The one that I want you to notice here right at the end is 10. ORF 10. This is not part of any other coronavirus. They don't know why it's there. They don't know what function it has. It's just there. And they wonder whether or not it's more like a nonsense mutation, that it was there and it doesn't have any particular role. The reality, based on the information that is coming out here now, is that this was specifically probably put in as an extra piece, because what they said, and this is what you will hear in that video, is they highlighted that ORF10, this is what they said when they broke it down. Scientists will need to develop therapies targeting these engineered mechanisms, potentially ORF10 inhibitors, to restore protein clearance, or treatments to break down hyperphosphorylated fibrinogen clots. They think that the ORF10 is one of the major drivers for abnormal clotting. And it fits with what they found from the details, that this was way back at the start, one of the targets as to how to make the human blood coagulate. This is pretty serious stuff. I don't know what to say other than to say this is mind-blowing. If you don't understand how serious this is, I don't know what to say. And this information is only starting to come through. We're just starting to get the pieces of it. And now, from a clinical point of view, I have to figure out, well, what do we do with this information? How? Because if this was always the point that I had made from the start with regards to the question about lab leak versus natural origin. The question I had was that if it was potentially a lab leak, and everything in this document is pointing towards that, not even a leak, this may have been deliberately set up in the way that it was. The reason we need to know what was done is because it is very difficult to mitigate what you don't understand. And so now the identification of things like that ORF10 protein being potentially a driver for unusual clotting mechanisms is very important, because then we can start to think about, how do you mitigate that? That's the relevance from a clinical point of view. For some people, it's purely just political. That's for other people to handle. But for those who are looking at patients and trying to figure out what's making them sick and trying to find strategies to make them well, understanding what was done and why it was done is extremely helpful to find solutions. These are essentially very, very dark times. This truth should shock you, and you haven't even seen the whole of it. When you realize just how deep and how far this goes, you'll realize what we're up against. This is a time for transparency, and it truthfully was purely what appears to be a random act of an individual not stopping searching until they found the information that they needed, and then still not stopping until they found a way to decode that information. What they downloaded, the most important bits that they found, could not be read because it was coded. They had to then develop a software to undo the code so that it could be interpreted. This was not supposed to come out. It's just the fact that some people will not stop. And we appreciate those scientists. And we need to protect them and make sure that they continue to protect us by bringing the truth. Thank you very much. And as I said, the video explaining some more, it's about 9 minutes, will be on the Substack, as well as the PDF for you to read. I don't think at the moment mainstream media is ready to see this in its full entirety. But we'll keep looking and we'll keep searching. Have a good evening.